In order to learn how to CAD, you need to first learn how to use Fusion 360 effectively, and to do this, you're going to follow along on how to categorise. So to begin this, I'm going to create a sketch on this plane, so the top-down plane. And I'm going to create a center rectangle that is 1 by 1. If you're wondering how I switch that, you just click Tab and it brings you to the next text box. And then I'm going to create a construction line running down here that's perpendicular to this line. And if you're wondering what a construction line is, that's just a line that doesn't have an impact on the shape of the sketch, I guess you could say. So you can see here it's still a full square, but if I turn this into a solid line, well then it splits the square into 2 parts, and that also can affect extrusions. And then I'm going to dimension this to be 0.2 from this edge. To dimension something, you just hold Shift and click the 2 things that you want to dimension, and then click D on your keyboard or hit Sketch Dimension in the top left. And then I'm going to create a circle that is 0.15 in diameter, and then another circle here, and a second circle here. I'm going to equal constrain all of these. You can see that this circle is constrained by a midpoint constraint, which means that it's on the midpoint of this line right here. And if you're wondering what constraints are, they're basically just ways to lock your sketch in place, in a sense. And you always want your sketches to be constrained. So you can see that these are all black. There's like a bunch of black lines on here. But this would be a blue line. You never want a blue line, or if it's a construction line, an orange line, to be in your sketch, because that means that you can move it around. You can like change its position, and you don't want that because that could mess up your sketch in the future. So now that I have these 3, if I don't want to do all of that all over again on the other side, I could create another line down the middle, and then I could mirror this. So I would select these 3, select the mirror line, and then it mirrors over. So now that you have the 6, we're just going to create the 1 on the same sketch, and I'll show you how to extrude it to the opposite face in a second. Okay, so now that you're done, click Finish Sketch. You can see the sketch appears over here. And you should always make sure to name your sketches and name your components, which I'll show you in a second, because it makes things much easier and much more organized in the long run. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to click New Component. Always extrude it into a new component. Don't make it a new body. And then I'm going to extrude it 1 inch. So that's going to be the cube. And it automatically hides the sketch because it thinks you're done with it. But show it again, and then click these 6. Click Extrude again, and change the operation to cut. And then extrude it 0.05 inches. Now for the 1 to go on the opposite face, click Extrude again, but this time change the direction to be 2 sides. And again, change this to cut, of course. And there are many ways that you can move this. You could drag it, you could input a number, but I find it easier to just select the face that you want it to extrude to, and then change this as per your needs. So you have these 2 faces and the cube itself, so you can hide this now, and before moving on, just change the name of the component. So next, create a sketch on any other face. And then I'm going to show you another way to do this. So I'm going to dimension this to be 0.2, and I'm going to relative dimension this to be 0.2. You just click the dimension that you want to relatively dimension it to. And essentially relative dimensioning is tying these 2 dimensions together. So if I were to change this to 0.5, well then that would change to 0.5 as well. And it's important to know that you can add operations into your relative dimension. So let's say I wanted this to be double the other dimension. Well, I could just multiply by 2. This would change to be double. So now that I have that, I'm going to create 2 lines, make sure they're in the middle. Make these construction lines, and then I'm just going to mirror this over. And then mirror a second time over this line. And then I'm going to create an unequal constraint. So you're done with this. This is the 3, 4 face. And I'm going to do basically the same thing that we did earlier. I'm just going to select this, extrude, show this once again, and extrude this. Okay, now you can hide that and create a sketch on the final face. So this is going to be the 2, 5 face. And it's going to have the same pattern as what we did earlier, but I'm going to show you how to do it in a bit of a different way. This is figure 0.15, dimension these. But I'm going to create a rectangular pattern this time. This object, this direction 2, it's going to go 0.6, and then this way, again 2, and negative 0.6. And then I'm going to create a line this way, a line this way, and then equal constrain these. Okay, and then again, do the same thing. And 2. Okay, so now we're done with the cube, and one of the last few steps is to fill it. Click F or click this on top, doesn't really matter, and select all the edges of the cube. And 0.1, 0.07. Okay, that looks about right. And finally, if you want to, you can change the appearance to that works. That was how to CAD-tize as an introduction to the tools available using Fusion 360. Please feel free to go to the slide deck to look for an overview of what was covered, and please save your CAD with your name in the folder on Fusion.